Okay, everybody, and welcome to this week's podcast. And I actually have a guest this week. My guest is a practicing witch. Her name is Lady Sterling, and she is a wonderful part of my life. She is basically a sister to me. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell us a little bit more about her.
All right. Hi, guys. My name is Lady Sterling. I have been a practicing witch for as long as I can remember, actually. It all started when I was really, really little. My mom would teach me about the elements and how, nature works, and to be respectful of Mother Nature because, as we can all tell during this crisis and pandemic, Mother Nature does not discriminate, and she doesn't play around. So, to be very respectful of that and your surroundings. So I kind of grew up in a house where, we all understood the order of nature and how, that plays in our everyday lives. So learning about the elements and, just basically like, just being in the moment, and trusting your intuition. Those are like the main things, core values that we had growing up, like is to just really trust in your own self. And that's like the number one rule of any kind of spirituality or divinity or witchcraft at all, is just trusting in yourself and knowing that, you're not the only one, you know what I mean, that's going through this. There are others out there like you. But they may have other abilities or other gifts, things like that. So finding a common ground, so it's kind
Yeah,
of
definitely if you don't believe in yourself no matter what you do, even if it's not
yeah,
spiritual,
exactly.
it can really
Yeah.
mess with you. Now, what type of magic or witchcraft do you practice?
Mainly like green, herbal, and I do practice hedge witchcraft, which I'll explain. Green and herbal, of course, is more about, utilizing natural products. Like if you go out into nature and you pick a dandelion or, you're going to use that, but you're also giving back. So in green magic, we don't just take from the earth, but it's kind of in the same sense as like with the Native Americans, how they would plant whatever they took. So we do the same thing and it's the same concept. So, if you, whether it be, that you're going back out into nature and just spreading out a bunch of, wildflower seeds, which I've done that plenty of times on the, the trails and stuff. And people are like, wow, where are all these flowers coming from? And it's just really pretty. But it's also giving back, and it helps the rest of, the natural world as far as like birds, bees, insects, things like that that carry all the rest. So also, I do a lot of my rituals outdoors. So that's a big part of being a green witch. You like to be in the mountain, on the beach, wherever you feel, connected to nature. And that's where I, thrive the most is in the woods or the mountains, and that sort of thing. So it's nice for me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's grounding. I mean, if you get me by an ocean,
Yes.
I'm happy. I'm in my happy place.
Right. And I think it has a lot to do with your element, like how you connect, Some people really connect with the moon. Some people just really connect with the ocean, like you said, So it depends on what you connect with or what you find, you're always going, wow, why do I constantly look up, or why am I always wanting to go to the sea? There are things that pull you in this universe, So it's listening to those messages, and the symbology that comes with it. It's amazing.
Oh yeah,
So
it's the universe calls you in the way that it is meant to call you.
it does. Yes.
When did you first know that you had these powers and abilities?
For me, it was my ability or my gift, was passed through ancestry as it is with, I believe in everyone. I don't believe that it's just specific people or, certain people that were maybe they had, druids in their family or maybe they had, you know, like other if it's hereditary, like if you have, somebody in your bloodline that had, some type of a magical ability or a trait that you find is different than other people. But I feel like everyone on this planet, as all humans or whatever, we all have that, but people need to like really learn how to tap into it. There are some that are just happy living in their own bubble, you know what I mean? And their world's the size of a napkin, and they don't want to know what's on the outside of that space, So it's scary for them, it's unknown and that sort of thing. But and that's why I think there's so much fear, behind it. But for me, my abilities is more, really, I'm very highly intuitive. I have a very spiritual connection with my own divinity. Like I have a deity that I connect with, who I use, and to help guide me and to help me through all of, whatever I'm going through. But the deity that I connect most with is the Morrigan, and I use her, call on her, for guidance and spiritual assistance when especially doing rituals or palm readings, things like that. Like for me, my ability is to do palm readings and past lives, and to really, be able to see the past like that, to see beyond. Is it popping up?
It's all eek, eek.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's funny.
My phone's going off. Well, I was assisting someone else before I took this call, so that's so that's why. So we were doing spell work. But yeah, so for me, palm readings, past lives, anything like that, to be able to see beyond into the past like that is an amazing gift. And I feel like it's helped a lot of people really reconnect with who they are and why they do the things they do. And it kind of tries to like touch on some of the issues that they might be fearful of. Like, why am I scared of heights? Why, do my palms sweat when I get near the ocean? Like, why, you know what I mean? Certain things that say, this is a sign, but they're going, why, So for me, past lives is more, about helping them to channel that and to figure out like what happened. Oh, and then you find out, you died in a fire and that's why you're deathly afraid of it, things like that. So for me, I learned about it when I was probably, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old. It started to happen where I was standing in the kitchen near my mom. She was actually cutting potatoes, and I was standing near her, and all of a sudden I had like this crazy vision of a war that was going on, and it was happening during a time that is not now, or not then, whenever I was, in like the 80s, you know what I mean? So it was definitely like a more of a Confederate, type war going on and stuff. And I was standing in the middle of the battlefield just watching it happen. And it was only then that like, I realized like, okay, I'm seeing something, but I'm not sure what it was. I asked my mom about it. She said, okay, we'll talk about it. We'll look into it, and we'll figure it out. So she did some scrying and, looked into that and figured out that, it was a definite battle going on. And, it was just absolutely crazy. So for me anyway, at 10 years old, I'm like, why are they showing this to me, and I never really actually figured out the connection, like what that was about. But, it could be something to do with my past life. It could have been someone else in the family, or, you know what I mean? So it just happens once in a while. It'll pop up and a vision will appear. And I'm like, where, why, who is this for?
Right.
So.
And it could have even been spirit connecting.
Exactly.
That was the moment. And I have that with my readings when I do pets. Like I'll have humans, loved ones that have passed, come in and they're like, no, this is my opportunity. I'm getting in.
Yeah.
I don't care if this is the dog or the cat's reading. I'm getting in on this.
Yeah. Whenever they can see the light, they try to come to it, and that's a lot of them. It's, so.
Oh yeah. And it makes it fun when I do it when they butt in, because it's like, okay, now we have so and so, and my sisters are like, "Oh, okay, you know who that is? Why are they here?"
They have something to say, so got to give them the floor.
Exactly. So, what does it mean to you to be called a witch? And basically to tell people, yeah, I'm a witch.
Mm. Okay, well, for me, with being called a witch, it used to have a derogatory, a negative connotation to it, in the past. So, I mean, for me now, it's not, it's not such a bad, like they say it like it's a bad thing, you know what I mean? And that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, okay, if you fear it, then that's only going to add to the fuel, people, to the flame. It's not gonna make, anybody really understand it more, you know what I mean? If they're just going, okay, she's a witch, or whatever. But the thing is people they don't think about like what it used to mean, and I think that when you look back in our past and you see like when they called them that, it was definitely more of like, you know, um, you stood out from the crowd, you know what I mean? And like that, and it could have been you were an herbalist, you could have been, helping somebody with an abortion, and at that time, I mean, things like that. That is kind of what gave them that word, like that name, witch or whatever, because they were different, So for me, I look at it like it's a blessing. I look at it like it's an honor to be called a witch, because those are our ancestors. Those are people that, went through hell, and, you know, um, we are the offspring, so we're the ones that, are the offspring of the survivors, the ones who lived to tell the story. So I mean, to me, that's an honor, to be called a witch.
Yeah, we're the descendants.
We are. We
Yeah,
are.
that gave me chills.
Right?
I mean, even, when I first met you and, you were like, "No, you're a witch." I'm like, "Really?" That's part of my whole thing that I didn't know. And,
Right?
not knowing my family history, who the heck knows there, But,
Yeah.
you know, you said that, and I'm starting to sit back and, kind of soak it all in, think about it, and I'm like, yeah, I've kind of done witchy things and didn't even know I was doing
Right.
it.
And I think too, with that is that witches is kind of a blanket term now. It seems that, anybody who practices candle magic, anybody who practices any kind of, and if you look into like the religious backgrounds of people, like, Jesus turning water into wine, I mean,
You
let's
can't argue
be
with that.
honest. I mean, it's things like this, I mean, that make you question and go, okay, maybe, there is more to this, you know what I mean? And people are just not understanding because they're not educating themselves. They're not seeing, this for what it is. And, um, so it's a blanket term. I mean, it really covers a lot of different kinds of practices and styles. And even, in Christianity, they do have witchcraft. I mean, that's, it's been something too with the Christo witches as well. They've come out more and they've said, okay, now we can actually blend these two together because, there's a lot of terminology in the Bible, in the book, um, that does point to, sorcery, witchcraft, and whatnot. I mean, there's all kinds of it going on in there, but people are going, oh, and then they say, oh, burn the witch. Well, no, that's not what that actually means. Like, there's a whole nother perspective to it, and people really need to like, take a step back, several seats, and think about it, So,
Yeah, take a step back, take a breath, and remember it's a new day and age, but even back
mhm,
witch trials, you know, they weren't doing things to people. They weren't anything negative. It was all fear mongering. And I mean, even look at the situation now with the virus. There's a lot of fear mongering. Our governor is now referring to it as the Grim Reaper when he talks about it. It's like, you get that same ideal, and it's going to happen over and over throughout history. And the worst part is, with the witch trials, it was taking lives. It wasn't just emotional fear mongering. It was taking lives. It was torturing people, and it wasn't needed. But that was that day and age, because people were not evolved in those aspects. Where now there are a little bit more, but we still have those people that are like, oh, you said that word.
There's still that fear surrounding it. Yes.
They turn around faster than a cat when you tell them their food bowl is full,
Right. Exactly.
So I guess to you, what is the best way to explain to people what magic is? And we kind of went over about how widely it's practiced. There's a lot of it out there, and most people don't even know that their family members, husband, wives, anybody, friends are doing this, because it's not something that we go around and be like, yeah, I'm a witch. I got the shirt.
Exactly. So yeah, for me, like with Magick or whatever, that actually, when you spell it, the spelling, Magick, when you add the K to the end of it, that was actually a spelling that was coined by Aleister Crowley back in the 1800s. 18 or 1900, I think it was 1800s, right?
19.
I can't remember. 19.
19.
Yeah. Remember, I know. That is paper. I had a major brain fart.
So I sent you the picture of that first edition Aleister Crowley book when I was in Florida.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I know, that's amazing. That whole bookstore, like,
dude.
My gosh.
I geeked out.
I need to get there. When all this goes away, I need to come.
We're not going to call it a girls' trip. We'll call it a witches' trip, just for fun.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, so Magick, with the spelling K at the end of it, was coined by him to just decipher between the two, with a magician doing magic and a witch doing magic, or a practitioner, whatever you want to call yourself, priestess, that kind of thing. So that was something that, came about a long time ago. So then when he implemented that in all of his writings and things like that, it got people more interested, learning about the elements and how to work with them, and different spirits, and just learning about the divinity. But he was also very controversial. It was a very, very touch and go kind of thing with him. So a lot of people just didn't understand, with him, because he was both, gray, dark. I mean, he had it all going on. So he worked with, spirits and entities that people wouldn't even think about working with in their magic. So, but magic to me is everywhere. It's all around us. It's in nature. It's abundant. It's everything that we do. It's, when you look at the moon and you make a wish, or if you, throw a penny into the well and you make a wish, it's the same thing. But you're believing in it. Magic only works when you believe in it. And people are, they're so hesitant to believe in something, that they're afraid that they're going to not have it come true, or they're afraid, there's that fear or that doubt, in their mind. So whenever they do a spell, a lot of times people will message me, and that's probably what my message is about right now, why her spell didn't work. But anyway, so when you do a spell or whatever, and within that 24-hour period that you've put it out there into the universe, you have to really still just, I kind of like to say, fix it and forget it. Just, put it out there. You've done what you can do. You can't control everything. You can't control, what happens next. So let the universe do what it needs to do. If it's meant to happen, it's going to happen. And it's going to happen in the time that, it needs to happen. So magic works on a whole different level than, what people realize. But the more that you believe in it, the more it comes true. And that's something, you can't have that little seed of doubt in there, whenever you're casting, because if you want that end goal, it's got to be, believed in.
Yeah, you got to put the intent out there, and you have to let the gods, goddesses, guides, the universe know that, okay, I'm sticking with this. This is my decision. I'm not going to change my mind in 5 minutes. And I really, really am passionate about this and want this to work. Because if you're not passionate about the spell or even a blessing,
right,
they're going to be like, well, if you don't care, I don't really care.
right, right, exactly.
So, we're going over all the things that witches can do and all the different types of things, but are there rules? Is there a rule set for witches?
Yes, there are. There are actually, when you look at the different types of witchcraft that we have out there, there's the threefold law, which dives into basically like what you reap is what you sow, kind of thing. It's the if you put it out there, it's going to come back to you, and that's in a threefold way. Like it could be, it's just karma, basically. I mean, it's just really all about karma. I mean, when you think about it, people that, they put out these spells like they're so negative. Like I have met too many people that think that witchcraft is just all dark and evil and, whatever. And it's all about that intent, like you said. It really is, because if you're looking to intend to harm someone, that it's not going to work out the way you want it to. It's going to bounce back on you or a family member or somebody that you really care about, and it's going to bite you in the ass. So that's something that you really need to consider when you're doing spell work, rituals, any kind of divinity whatsoever. I mean, it's really kind of one of those things. It's a karmic debt, and people need to understand that it builds over time, and all of your past lives, all the karmic bullshit that you have built up comes with you to your next life. So, choose wisely in the next life, and once you realize, oh, this is my life, that I'm in now, like maybe I should fix some things, or make this right. But people just keep repeating the same things because they're not thinking about, oh, I've just been recycled into a new body. I've been given another chance, to make this right so I can move on to the Summerlands or, have peace in the afterlife. And they just continuously go in a cycle. So karma, it plays a huge, huge part in the rules. There's a ton of rules out there, that people do look at and go, oh, well, only pagans or follow this, or druids, or witches, or this one over here, you know what I mean? Like, and if they think like, oh, well, because I'm a solitary witch, I can do whatever I want. I've gotten a lot of response about that too in the past, where people are like, well, I'm a solitary witch, I practice alone, blah blah blah, like I don't need to follow any rules. Okay, and then that's why your life is burning around you, is because you're continuously acting on whatever ill intent you're doing in your spells, you know what I mean, and you're trying to cause harm. I mean, that's why your life is falling to shit. So
Yeah, it's like what goes around comes around.
absolutely.
And, it's like, to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, because baby witch here, it's one of those things like, you can be solitary, you can do your own thing, but part of doing the witchcraft, part of all that, that's part of a community. Even back in the day, that those witches in the witch trials knew each other, they communicated, not all of them, but there were little networks, and they each did things for each other, spell work, blessings, whatever. It's a community thing. It's not about taking, it's about giving.
Right. It is, exactly. And so for me, like when you practice magic or whatever, just really be considerate of what it is that you're asking for. Really think about it before you put it onto paper, before you actually write it, you know what I mean, because once you've put that thought out there, there is no retrieving it. It doesn't get to come back to you. If you wish someone was dead or whatever, be prepared for something bad to really happen to you, yourself or someone that, you really care about or whatever, because, essentially that's what's going to happen, in the end. So.
Yeah, and that's not a situation you want to put anybody in or yourself in or one of your loved ones. It comes down to responsibility and being ethical.
Yes. Yes.
Now, this kind of leads into the next one is I'm sure there's people listening and they've wondered if, oh, well, I feel like I could be, or, oh, wait, I had family, was told they were a witch. I kind of want to get into this new path, but I'm a little worried about where to go because there is so much information out there. And of course, with the internet, if you see it on the internet, it's hard to believe sometimes, and you shouldn't believe most of what's out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. For anyone that's really trying to learn, that wants to, get into it or figure out like what path they should be on, I really ask the listener to sit with themselves quietly in a meditation state. If they don't know how to meditate or they've never done it before, there's a ton of YouTube videos out there, that will help, like guided, meditation and that kind of thing. So if they do, I'm sure we can drop some links somewhere or, something like that for them that they can look up any kind of like meditation state. But the thing is when you're meditating, you're really connecting, you're grounding yourself, you're connecting with your inner, your higher self, that person that's saying, it's like your higher consciousness saying, all the things that you should be doing, that are right for you and good and healthy, but you're really connecting with that, that person that you're striving to be, so whatever the person inside of you is telling you, like that you're striving to be, is telling you like, this is, what path you should be on, meaning, for example, if you're really, really drawn to, like nature, based witchcraft or whatever, then maybe you should take, a look at some of the botany courses and things like that, that they've got in your local community college, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that will help you, to understand plants more and, plant medicine and how to work with, these things. And you don't have to be labeling yourself, right away or whatever. If you're scared to put a label on it, and to commit, then maybe, just try to find different avenues. If you like yoga and meditation, then, maybe you should look into doing astral projection, things like that, because, hedge witchcraft does a lot of, planar dimensional, type of witchcraft, and I do dabble in that a little bit with astral projection. So, I like to travel when I sleep. So, but yeah, so
you won't get a virus if you travel in your sleep.
Yeah, exactly. When you're astral projecting, you will not get the virus. So, just remember to wash your hands when you come back. Because you don't know where you've been. But yeah, so to me that, if they're looking for something like that, read a lot, but be leery of the really flashy, shiny people that are, very all about like, oh, I know all the answers, stay away from those, because they really don't teach you anything, and it's more of a pyramid scheme than anything else. That's all they're trying to do. So, word of the wise.
Yeah, you see the lady walking down the street with her Halloween witch hat and her cloak. We'll just turn the other direction.
Yeah. Right.
She probably has a few cats hidden under that cloak.
Yeah, exactly. She's just a crazy cat lady that lives down the road. Like go into, your metaphysical shops. I'm sure if there's any places around, I mean, if they don't have metaphysical shops around, then people, I'm sure, would take calls online, to their metaphysical shops. You could always call around and find out what's the best beginner book, for me, because, I'm just learning. I'm just starting out. And, a lot of times, like these bookstores or bookstore owners, they definitely have some answers for you. So,
Right.
take inside of a bookstore once in a while.
I've told people that have asked me as well when we get on a subject, it's like, first, you need to learn the history.
Yes, absolutely.
Learn what our ancestors, our predecessors did, felt, went through.
Hmm. Exactly. Put
Because,
yourself in their place. Yes.
yeah, you can't connect with, your witchy side if fully, to me at least, if you're not connected with your history, with your roots.
Right.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
anybody discovering their heritage on any of the DNA sites, they all of a sudden feel so connected because now there's all this research about, their people that came from here and went to there and hooked up with these people and did these types of jobs. And now they're like, oh, okay, I get it now. And it's the same kind of thing in my eyes that, okay, this is what they went through, this is what they felt. And they don't have to own that as their pain, their heartache, their trials,
Right.
but respect that.
Absolutely. Yes. Honor the ancestors, definitely. They've been through everything and that we could possibly imagine. So, definitely honoring them and, having them, giving them gifts, leaving them gifts, things like that. They love that. If it's something that, you feel close to, that like, for example, if you feel close to, Egypt and you don't know why, look into the history of your family, find out like what's going on with that, or it could be that, you need to look into the history of, whatever was happening in that time that you feel connected to, so go back, again, it's all about our past, and what it does for us now, in the present and what it's going to, shape for you in the future. So it definitely stems from your past. So definitely history is important.
You can't shut the past off.
You can't.
You can't.
Um,
Okay, well, I guess one, I appreciate you taking the time to do this with me. I know you're really busy, as you have all your little underlings going, oh God, help me, it went wrong. I don't know what I did. Honored to, have this journey with you as my friend and basically my sister. I mean, so much about me, my past lives, and I
right.
mean, we met through a mutual friend of ours that was like, no, she needs to do your past life poem. Do it now. I was like,
Right.
okay, I won't argue however much it costs. I don't care.
Right.
Just don't yell at me anymore. And, it was this instant bond, and there's been discovery on both our sides with each other.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes. It's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey, and I'm excited to see what's next. So,
I think there's just a lot of stuff that's, everyone's going on about the virus. Oh, it's so heavy. And yeah, it's heavy, especially if you're empath, even
oh,
if you're not, it's heavy. But that there's a lot of light and a lot of positivity coming.
right. There is. I'm actually seeing that, and just recently too, as an example of that, peace happening. I mean, the media is trying to, I think, in my opinion, I mean, I'll watch it if there's like a medical expert or a scientist on that's speaking, but other than that, I don't really watch the news because I feel like they're just, trying to, um, scare the population and the public, and try to get them to just, and I get that they want people home and all of that, whatever, and that's fine and that's great, but my thing is, when you have, things happening in the world like Japan, donating to China, and they wrote, them a note on the box, in the box it said, we are, one wave in the same sea, so it's really inspiring to me, as a person, as a human being, that, there is possible, peace happening, but we're just not, we're seeing little bits of it. It's not, so widestream, in the media. So I think people need to really just kind of, do what they're supposed to do right now, follow CDC guidelines, obviously, but also take this time, to really just meditate, get to know yourself, get to know your, the people that you're quarantined with, find things to do that's fun, like together. And, whether that means the whole family is sitting there shooting together on Call of Duty or whatever, like just find stuff to do together, and figure it out. But, for me, I'm going to be taking a hike by myself alone, tomorrow, up north, just to go out and sit by the stream where I usually sit and just meditate. I'll have my mask on the whole time, but I will sit there and meditate, and it'll be awesome, just to have that time.
Yeah, it's kind of like a massive worldwide self-care lockdown.
It is. It really is.
The universe was like, you know what, everybody? You need to be practicing this stuff, and you've really been not doing it. So, you know what? We got to step in and make this happen.
Right. Exactly.
Well, thank you so much again. I guess, is there anything else that you have to say about witchcraft or being a witch, or any messages for anybody, or have we covered it all?
I think that we've pretty much covered it, but I do want to say to the viewers, our listeners, that there are a ton of books out there, authors that are amazing, to get started. I mean, I know that you'll have to actually step into a bookstore, and I know that's hard to do right at the moment. So, Amazon does have a lot of, really great deals. I don't know if they're walking out under the current condition, if Amazon is even still, a thing right now. But there are other websites and things like that you can order books on. Lori Cabot, Raymond Buckland, some of these authors are really excellent. Scott Cunningham, I think there's just a ton out there. So, but just be selective, be leery, on the lookout. Really expensive books are not needed. I bought a little herbal like a little herbal witchcraft, book, and it was like $7, you know what I mean? Like in Barnes and Noble even. So, I mean, just, think about like, if there's like sticker shock on it, you know what I mean? Then step away from it, because it's probably just a money grab, and you know what I mean? People are not going to really learn anything from that. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Like I said before, I know you're really, really busy, but I had to steal you away.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me.
No problem.